Kakadosh Boker or Daf Yomi Masechet Batra Daf Kuf Samech Daled Amud Aleph 164a1. We're going to start on the last line of Kuf Samech Gimel Amud Bet. The last line says Gufa Amar Rav, says Rav Shtar Abba Hu Ve'edav Alamachak. When you have a shtar, that the shtar and the edim are both coming on something which is erased. Ve'im Tomar. Now what happens? This is the Braita. So now the Braita is going to come and is going to say as follows. Ve'im Tomar. Yeah, he said, now if you're going to tell me, mochek vechozer mochek, which means that you could come and erase it again and write whatever you want. So, eno domen nimchak pamachat lenimchak shte pamim. You know very, very well that it's never the same thing if you erase something once or you erase it twice. Many times you come, you see an eraser one time, okay, it's a... But if you see it twice, you could tell it was erased. It's not the... Sorry, it's not the same. So says the Gemara, why don't we suspect that you're going to put the dio instead of the edim? And then you're going to erase it. But then when you're going to erase that which is written, so then everything's erased twice. Meaning like this, if you're going to come and you're going to tell me what's the problem, you erase the signatures, right? And then you want to erase it again. It's erased twice. You're going to notice it. The top part, which is the document, was only erased once. So it's very, very simple. You know what you do? You come, you erase it. You put dio on top of the edim. So you fill in where the edim is with dio. And then you erase it. Yes, and then you erase it. And then you do the same thing for the shtar. So now both of them are the same. You have both the exact same thing. So he says... Right? And then it's going to begin nimchak shte pamim. Says the Gemara and Abai says kasavar Rav holds en adim chotmim al machak elimchen nimchak bifnehem. Meaning no ed will come and sign on a document unless it was erased in front of them. Meaning when they're going to come and they're going to see something already erased, they're going to say, no, 1 second, what was here before? We're not just going to come and stam and start erasing. If it they have to see it. So if they're not looking at it and they're not seeing what's going on, it doesn't help. So says the Gemara, fine. Meitve, we're going to ask the following question. We just said that if you're going to have, right, that the ktav is going to be on the niyar and the edim is going to be on the machak, on that which is erased. So so it's very simple. Erase whatever is in the document and then write whatever you want. And then you have who and the edim on the machak. And we said that's going to be kosher. So says the Gemara, no. This is the way that they have to write. When the edim come and they sign on such a document, they sign, we signed on the machak, but the shtar was not on the machak. The shtar was written on the regular shtar, on the regular niyar. And therefore, by saying such a thing, obviously, you know that it cannot be that it was erased beforehand. The kat vehachi, that's what they write. If you're going to say that you're going to write that underneath the chatimot, meaning what are the chatimot? Chatimot are, for example, Yaakov ben Reuven Ed. Or Reuven ben Yaakov Ed, better said. Yeah? So now, if you're going to tell me that right under that, you're going to write down, by the way, we signed on Machak, and the regular style was signed on normal, so you just cut it out. Cut it out. Gaizle, ve'ila and if it's going to be above it, machikle, so you're going to erase it as well, right? Why? Because if right now you're going to erase anyway the top part, so erase this part as well. So now all you have is the deem signed on the machak, yeah, and then your guy's going to erase everything else, and he's also going to sign on that as well. So says the Gemara, ela but rather what? The katvi ben sada lesada. You did it in between the witnesses. Meaning there's two witnesses signed. Witness A and witness B. In between witness A and B, they wrote down, we are signing on the machak, but the shtar is on the regular piece of paper. And therefore, obviously, you can't do anything with it. Because what? You're going to cut out one witness. It doesn't help. So says the Gemara, so, ima seifa. Let's see the seifa. If it's going to be on the machak, and the edim is going to be on the niyar, it's going to be pasul. Amai pasul. Why is it going to be pasul? Hachanami nichtevu achi. Write the same thing. Meaning, why did we say that if he's going to be written on the machak and the edim on the niyad, it's going to be pasul? Flip it. Write down, the edim should write down. We are writing right on niyad, and the shtar is on machak. Why don't they write that? So answers the Gemara, hashtanami, you're right. But the problem is, mochek vechozeru mochek. You're going to come, you're going to erase, and then you're going to come and you're going to write it again. So therefore, because of that, we're not going to have it. It's not gonna be good. Why? Because again, if it's already machak, so what's gonna stop me from erasing it again and doing whatever I want? So says the Gemara, 1 second. But I thought I thought that you told me that there's a difference, right, between once and twice. Meaning, when you come and you erase something once and you write something, okay, fine, you could tell it's erased. But if you do it twice, it looks terrible. You could tell the difference between once and twice. So even if it's going to be, 1 second, even if it's going to be that it's going to be nimchak once or there's a big difference. You could tell the difference between them. So answers the Gemara, one of these words, when the edim are signed on the machka. But if you're going to tell me that it's not going to be signed on the machka, lo yadia. So then there's the hevdel is not going to be nikar, right? Why? He says, because if the edim are not going to be signed on the machak, but rather on niyar ragil, so therefore it's going to be the shtar on the machak, the edim on the niyar, and therefore you can't stop anybody from coming and obviously making it pasul. So obviously it does not help. Okay? Veleiti migilta acharita velimchok velidame. He says, why don't we just come and take another klaf, be mochek, and then try to check if it was done once or twice. Meaning like this. What happens if you're going to tell me that you're not sure, you cannot tell if it's going to be erased once or twice? Right? Even in the Sefer Torah, sometimes people, it all depends also how they erase. Sometimes people know how to erase. They're experts. I saw once a sofer, but he's also an artist. So he's a sofer, he's an artist. So I remember he had every type of a how do you call this, of knives, and of this, of that, of rubbers, right, of the erasers, and this. He knew how to mamash, like, do it, and you look at it on the cloth. No, you could tell. But basically, you nothing there. Yeah? So it's going to be a problem. So he says here, take another document and be midameh. He says, no, lo dami machka da megilta machka da megilta. You can never compare the two cloths. I mean, when I take one cloth and another cloth, even if I'm going to erase one and erase another, it doesn't look the same. And therefore, since it doesn't look the same, it's going to be a different halakha. Okay? So says the Gemara, yeah, fine. So says the Gemara, ulkabla lachatimat yedad asada ve'edina ve'limchok leidame. So why don't we just be mekabel the edut of the chatimat yad edim bevetin and then erase them? Meaning on the same cloth. And then check how does it look when it's going to be in the machak. So answers the Gemara, Rav Oshia says over Oshia, Eno domeh nimchak ben yomo lenimchak ben shnei yamim. When you erase something, there's a big difference whether you erased it fresh or you erased it, right, after a day. Right now, again, obviously with our inks, you don't know that. But on regular ink, right, we're talking about the real ink, right, that you do in a Sefer Torah, there's a difference if it's fresh or if it's not fresh. Yeah. Meaning to erase it, it's much different if it's going to be fresh or not fresh, right? Because obviously there's going to be a difference. There's a difference in the texture when you come and you erase it. So says the Gemara, fine, come, take the document, wait a day, and then do it, and then erase it and check. So Rabbi comes and he says, we're going to suspect that maybe the Bedim will make a mistake and they're not going to wait, and therefore they're going to come start comparing, and therefore it's not going to come, and it's not going to help. Okay, fine. 2 dots. Bottom 164a on the bottom. Says the Gemara. Yeah? Says the Gemara. Rabbi Chanina ben Gamliel Omer. Rabbi Chanina ben Gamliel says, Mikushar. We are talking about a get Mikushar that they went and you want to make it a pashut. So you have it like an accordion, and then you want to come, you want to open it up. So says the Gemara, right? Ashiv Rabbi Lediv Rabbi Chanina Gamliel. Says Rabbi in the Shita Rabbi Chanina ben Gamliel. Who sang Dalad Mudalef, Mudbet? Yeah, 164b. He says, I don't understand you. It's not the same time. What does that mean? right? What does that mean? Not the same time. Pashut, right? When we're talking about Melech Shana, Monin lo Shana. Shtaim, Monin lo Shtaim. What does that mean? When you have a king, remember that in the olden days, they used to write it for the kings. So, for example, you have the king of, or the queen, because they never actually really changed. Queen Elizabeth II. So you're going to say the, whatever it is, the year of, the queen, right? So fine. So Melech Shana, you're going to write down a Shana. If it's Shtaim, you count Shtaim. On a Shtar Mekushar, if he's going to be Melech Shana, you're going to count to 2 years. And if it's Shtaim, you're always going to do 3 years. Yeah? Now, that was a minhag, to always add on a year to the Melech. Obviously, it was like a kavod. It was like a kilu that you're giving kavod, that you want his malchut, his kingdom, right, to continue always forward. You understand? Yes, only the tied one. Only the tied one. Okay? Now, what happens is that the Chachamim come and they say, we're going to do this only for the accordion, remember, because we wanted to make sure that the Kohanim don't come and divorce their wives too quickly. So when they're doing that, right, they're going to do it. Now, when they're going to come and they're going to collect, right, he says it's always going to be from that time. Because also Betin know that it's going to, meaning since the Betin already have that code, they know that whenever it's going to be an accordion, they know this is the new time frame. It's like this time equals 1 year before, or what, you understand? Why? Because that means obviously when they're going to come collect, they have to know when the time is. So he says like this, he says, so 1 second, if it's going to be like that, so there's a difference between the time of a get mekushar and a get pashut. So how could I come and just make a get mekushar into a get pashut? It's going to become a problem. Yeah? So maybe you're going to come and you're going to borrow money with a shtar mekushar. And then you come and you have money and you pay him back and everything. Now he comes and he tells him, Havli shtarai, give me my shtar. He paid him back. He tells him, give me the shtar. He says, Amarle irkasli. I lost it. Vekatav le tavra. So he wrote a shovar, right, that he paid it. Vechimate zimne. So now when the zman comes, right, which is written in the shtar, mashvile pashut, it becomes a pashut. Ve'amarle, he tells him, Hani hashta di zafta minai. He says, the money in the shtar that I borrowed, right, after I wrote you the shovar, he says, you borrowed it again, right? And the shtar is a proof, because the shtar is even after the shovar. So therefore, he comes and he says, this is going to be a crazy trick. What's going on over here? Yeah, he could come, and he's going to say, I lost. Okay, so write me a receipt. So what is the receipt? He gives him the receipt, and all of a sudden he comes and he takes a document. So he says, you see, I lent it to you after the receipt. The receipt, that was another deal. This is something new. So answers the Gemara, kasavar and kotvin shofar. According to the Shita, you never write a shovar. So if you never write a shovar, so therefore you have to tear up the document. And until you don't show that document, I would never come and I would never pay you back. Meaning I would always say, give me the document, tear it up, right? Here's the money. At the same time, we're doing it. I'm not going to come. I'll pay you. Where's the document? I lost it. It doesn't work. Those things don't work. So says the Gemara, Umi baki Rabbi b'mekushar. He says, 1 second, was Rabbi a baki in shtar mekushar? He says, Va'u mekushar data lekamed Rabbi. There was a mekushar that came in front of Rabbi. Fa'amar Rabbi says, shtar meuchar uze. This is a shtar meuchar. Va'amar lo zonin le Rabbi. So Zonin came and he told Rabbi, that was the name of the rabbi, Zonin. Kach minagat shlumazu, melech shanayim, malach shanayim, monelo shtayim, shtayim monen shalosh, shana monin shtayim, shtayim monin shalosh. Right? And therefore the Chachamim came and they said that they also do that, but only in a regular one, not in a mekuchar, not in a pashut. So answers the Gemara, Batra Daf Zonin sevara. You're right. It's already after he already heard this from Zonin. Okay? Fine, and therefore he asked this question. Now again, the answer was that they don't write a shovar. So if they don't write a shovar, so therefore you don't have this problem. Okay? Next story. Hahu shtara dava kativ be. There was a shtar that was written, Bishnat Ploni Arkan. To the year of Ploni, the king, right? Whatever it is. So now it says here, now it wasn't written, right, which year it was. So it says Bishnat Ploni Amelech, but it doesn't say what year. It just said during the year. But which year? It doesn't say. Amar Rabbi Chanina, says Rabbi Chanina, you're going to check when exactly was he, right, becoming the king. And therefore, from that year, right, that's when you could come and start collecting. Because it was probably the first year, and that's why they just write down Bishnat thing. But it wasn't that he was many years there. So ask the Gemara, but why? Dilma darich malchute. Maybe the kavanah was that he should have a very, very long kingdom. So that's why you didn't write down a year, just to show that you wanted to have 100 years. So you're not going to write down in which year. There's no year. He's in his kingdom. So says the Gemara, Am Ravoshia says, Kach minaga shalom zo. This is the minhag of the nation. Again, this is the Yavan. Shana Rishona korin lo Arkan. The first year they call it Arkan. Okay, that's the first year. He comes and he says, in the second year, right, korin lo Digon. Right? Because again, in Yavanit, right, Yavanit, Shnaim is Digon. And the Arkan, right, is the kinui for one. So because of that, they didn't have to write down the first year or second year. They wrote down Bishnat Arkan, whatever, a melech, whatever it was, this and this. So says the Gemara, fine. Vedilma abura vehadar ukmua. He says maybe they took him down and then they brought him back. Meaning, many times it happened of coups, right, and things like that. But they would take them down and then they would bring them back up, right? So if they did that, so therefore, since at the beginning of his malchut he's also called an arkan, so how do you do that then? Well, he's going to have arkan digon, twice, right? It's like, for example, you could have whether it's going to be a president or you could have anything that they're there, they remove them and then they bring them back. So therefore, what are you going to do in the first year and the second year and the second time around again? So answers the Gemara, Rav Yirmiyah, Hahu erkan digon karule. This melech that they came and they brought him back, the second time around, he's called Arkan Digon because Digon already meant two. So Arkan Digon means the first year, the second time around. First, number two. That means that it's a contradictory. It's either Arkan or Digon. It's either one or two. It could all be both. So when you say Arkan Digon, it means the first year on the second time around. Does that make sense? Yeah. The first year, second time around. Okay. So he comes and he says, right, fine. So Tanu Rabbanan, learn to the Braita. What? Tanu Rabbanan, we learn to the Braita. Hareni Nazir. Right? I am going to be a Nazir. Sumchus Aman. Right? Sumchus comes and he says, Hina. Right? He did accept upon himself Nazirut for 30 days. If he said Digon, so then he has two different two different Naziruts, right? And therefore it's 30, it's 60 days, but it's 30 plus 30. Trigon, right? By the way, this is very, very similar. This is in Greek, but try anything with the tri, until today is always three, right? Tricycle, whatever it is, right? The triangle, anything which is tri, the tri is like that. So this is trigon. And the digon, so we do now the bi, right? bi. But right, the concept was, right, of trigon is going to be 3. Tetragon, right, is going to be 4. Pentagon is going to be 5. So you do see that even until today, we still have the majority of these in place. Okay? So, Tana Rabbanan, we learned in the Braita, Baita Gol. What happens if you have a round house, right? Or a digon, which means it only has 2 zaviot, or trigon, or 3, or pentagon, 5. Eno mitameh b'negaim. It's not going to be mitameh b'negaim. But tetragon before is mitameh b'negaim. It's basically, it has to be, right, a house. A house has to be squared, basically. It cannot be round or any other of these interesting types of tzurot, right, the forms. So says the Gemara, how do we know these things? Right? How do you know this? So the Taravaram, as we learned in the Braita, it says, right, Lemala in Parashat Nigeh Batim, Omer Kir, and then it says Kirot. When it says Kir, it means Kirot, which means 2. Lemata Omer, and below also says Kir, which is also Kirot, which is 2. So 2 and 2, Harekan Arba, so it's going to be 4. So only a house that has 4 corners is going to be Mitameh B'Negaim. Because they learn it from the Pasuk. Okay? Fine. Another story. Ha'u Mekushar Data Lekamed Rabbi. Right? There was a star which was Mekushar that came from Rabbi. Rabbi says, there's no Zman. Rabbi says, the son of Rabbi to Rabbi, Shema ben Ksharav Muvla. Right? Palya v'chazeh. He says, what? Maybe it's in between the stitches, right? The knots. Palya v'chazeh. Tear it open and look at it. So Rabbi looked, right? He was looking at on his son Rabbi Shimon Beroges, right? Why? Right? Because he thought that Kilu, he was the one that wrote it. Meaning, Kilu, since his own son came and he wrote such a document, he was upset at his son. How could you come and write such a document? So Elmaleh, so he answered him right away. Lavana katavte, I didn't actually write it. Rabbi Yehuda chayta katve. It was Rabbi Yehuda chayta. Elmaleh, so he told him, Klach mi lashon hara hazeh. That's lashon hara. Right? What does that mean? You didn't need to tell me who it was. You could just tell me you didn't do it. That's fine. But the second that you came and you told me it wasn't so and so, it was somebody else, and you told me who it was, that is lashon hara. Yeah, which makes sense. Lashon hara. Fine. Zimni navayativ kameh. So once Rabbi Shimon was sitting in front of Rabbi, his father, the kapas yiksid Rabbi Sefer Tehillim, and he was finishing one of the sefarim of Sefer Tehillim. Amar Rabbi, said Rabbi, kama miushar ktav zeh. Look how straight it is. Look, Elmaleh, lama na kativteh? I didn't write it. He says, Yudah chayta katveh. It was Yudah chayta. So he says, Elmaleh, he said, klach min lashon hara zeh. Stop with this lashon hara. Yeah, makes sense? Okay. Everyone understood or not? What doesn't make sense, doctor? The Tehillim, it was very nicely written. So he went and he said, oh, wow, look how beautiful this is. He says, I didn't write it. It was Yudah chayta. So he says, stop with this lashon hara. Says the Gemara, Bishlema hatam. I understand over there. Ika lashon hara. By the shtar mekushar, there's lashon hara because ki'ilu he said that you're not supposed to do it. So if you're not supposed to do it and the guy did it, so that's lashon hara. So don't tell me about it. But he says, Hacha by the Sefer Tehillim. My lashon hara. Where's the lashon hara? He said something positive. He didn't say anything negative. So the Gemara answers because of Rav Dimi. Titani Rav Dimi achu ad Rav Safra. Don't start coming and praising too much your friend. You know why? Because you come and start praising too much. What happens? You start also coming and you start saying, by the way, he's incredible, but... And then the but continues. Yeah, with all the negative things as well. So that's also the Lashon Hara. So Amarav says Rav, Shalosh averot en adam nitzol mehem bechol yom. Do you know there are 3 averot that a person is not saved every single day? One of them is Hirur Avera. Hirur Avera. Number 2, Iyun Tfilah. And number 3, Lashon Hara. Those are 3 things which are so difficult. The people, Hirur Avera. Every single day. Hirur Avera, Lashon Hara, and Iyun Tfilah. Obviously, the Gemara is going to explain each one, right? But that Bezat Hashem will leave for tomorrow.